I see you rising beyond expectations of men over your life in the name of Jesus. It is still the 2021 annual convention of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, annual youth convention, of course. And the theme is exceeding expectations. Yes, we told you about the Fireside chat that we will be having this afternoon, and the time is now. We have interesting guests today, and I assure you that at the end of this segment, of course, you would have taken a thing or two that will help you exceed your employability expectations,
career
right?
Expectations,
yes.
job expectations,
professional expectations,
work expectations. Because
yes.
there's the scarcity of job, but there's the scarcity of work.
Exactly.
I held on to that.
Yes,
solid.
that's true.
It was solid.
All right, so we have some of our friends joining us today from different parts of the world. Bella, do you want to go first and introduce our guests?
I would love to go first. We've got joining us today for this really beautiful fireside chat, Nisa Thompson. Nisa joins us all the way from Seychelles, and she is State Counsel to the Attorney General's Chambers of Seychelles. It is so good to have her here. We also have joining us from Zambia, Mpeza Mhone. Mpeza currently works in the capacity of human resources, and she's an HR administrator in a financial institution, and she serves right now in the Redeemed Christian Church of God as HOD admin for the African continent, and she also works in the protocol unit as an officer at Lighthouse Arena Parish, the headquarters church. It is so good to have them with us.
Oh, yes. And of course, we have the gentleman in the midst of the ladies this afternoon, and that is John Chibwe. John is the group head of people for the Hollard Insurance in Zambia. He is also a consultant, and he runs Trendset Consultancy, and he is the leader of the youth in Lusaka Province 1 in Zambia. So you can see this afternoon, we have people who are not just professionals, but who are children of God and are serving in the Lord's vineyard.
I need to also add, Nisa happens to be a Sunday school teacher and an interpreter.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so can we just have a word? Hi, Mpeza, how are you today?
Hi, afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Hi, Nisa, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing great by the grace of God. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
Awesome. And John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on this program today, and we are trusting the Lord, but we are going to have a very impactful time in the presence of God. Thank you.
I think just to break the ice, right? I'm curious, like we did mention in your very summarized profiles, you all have professional lives, but then you also are very active, in the mission. How are you able to juggle your professional lives with your responsibilities at church? How easy is that? Nisa, you want to go first?
Yeah, I don't mind. Well, for me, it's really straightforward. In fact, it's only thanks to God that I'm able to discharge my professional duties, and it's thanks to Him that I have this job. So I always put Him first, and I make sure I always have time to do my church duties as well, especially preparing as a Sunday school teacher. You always have to find time and make time for God. And for me, that's a priority. That's how I do it.
Aww. Thank you for that. John, you want to go next?
Yeah, so for me, I think life is more spiritual than it is physical. Really, the physical work that I have is actually an outflow of how my spiritual life is. So I think the balance is way much easier when you understand life from that dimension and concept, that you are more spiritual than you are physical. So I think the energy that I draw from the Spirit of God, the energy that I draw from God Himself actually gives me the impetus and, the energy to continue on through life.
Awesome. He said the physical, it's an outflow of the spiritual.
Mpeza?
Thank you so much. So basically, I I enjoy being in the presence of the Lord, and that is where I have directed my life. And so, like those said, is that when you have that life sorted, everything else comes easily. So by me giving my time to the Lord, I know it makes me able to also perform in the physical, doing my other work. So it's just the grace of the Lord that we are able to manage more.
Nice. Thank you guys for that. If you're looking for some inspiration, there you have it. You can actually do both at the same time.
Yeah, very true. So, I mean, you said the physical rather, is an outflow, of the spiritual. And scripture says that we will go to the uttermost ends of the earth, proclaiming the gospel. Now, we're talking about the world of work. Some persons believe that you should just stay in your locality, in your area, in your country and work there, while some others believe that you could travel to the uttermost ends of the earth and work there. John, you are head of people, that's like a term for HR, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's actually HR, but our organization prefers calling it people.
I like it.
Yeah, so
of course, it's people you have working there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There must be group head of equipment, I guess. I don't know. No.
Okay, maybe group head of facilities. So I mean, international work. Is it something that we should be looking forward to, or is it something that we shouldn't embrace at all?
I feel like John's video has sort of frozen there.
Maybe in Peza?
There, he's back.
Oh, okay, John is back. Okay,
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, so I was asking, I said, should we embrace international work, or should we be content with our expectations and say we want to sit in our home countries and work there, or should we desire to exceed expectations by looking to work in other countries?
And continents.
So definitely, I think we should desire and have, expectation for us to work even outside our countries as well as in the different continents. So I'll start with a quote by a certain gentleman who is Dr. Francis Schaeffer. Okay. So he says, people are different, cultures are different based on the thought patterns of individuals, as well as, how they've been thinking over the years, which has actually influenced their value system. So I think it starts with the type of mentalities that we have, which eventually will influence our value system. So when you look at the evolution of life itself, I think you understand that we had the slavery kind of set up in the very earliest ages of the world. Then we went to colonialism and eventually moved on to the era where we are living now. So these eras have a tendency of, influencing the way we think. So some of us have been looking at ourselves as slaves. Others look at ourselves, as people that don't really have value. So I think it starts from changing our mindsets. That's why the Apostle Paul says, be transformed by the renewing of the mind. So for me, I think a change of mindset is very important. And until the mindsets are changed, are we going to really get to a place where we appreciate that someone can actually work outside the country without feeling having any feelings of inferiority whatsoever compared to the rest of the world? So yes, we should have expectations to work outside because it's possible for us to actually do that.
So I see Nisa nodding a lot to what John is saying, and I, of course, understand from your profile that you deal with young people on a weekly basis.
If I may add to what John has
please carry on.
Shared.
Carry on, please.
Thank you. Yes, I believe that our God is still in the business of exceeding our expectations. So I do not think that as children of God, we should be limiting ourselves to the possibilities of working in the international group. And therefore, on this basis, I will emphasize that first, before we decide to work internationally or locally, we should always be mindful of the will of God for our lives. Because at the end of the day, we might choose the Bible says, a man may plan his own ways, but the Lord always directs his path.
Absolutely.
So for me, even though we should not limit ourselves, it is very important that we find out the will of God for our lives. And as children of God, it is very important for us to be impactful, not only locally, but also internationally. So I would definitely encourage any one of us who has a calling to work in the international group to go out there, make a difference as children of God, and be effective. So I would definitely go for it, yeah.
Great. Let's go to Mpeza real quickly. Mpeza, what would you say are the skills that are in high demand right now? What skills are international companies perhaps looking to hire people in? What are the opportunities really?
Okay, so in terms of skills that are high in demand in terms of on the international platform, I want to believe that social research is really high on demand.
Okay.
When you invest in research methodology or research essay, you will be in demand anyway. You can work actually anywhere if you invest in research. Also, IT, that's information and technology. That can never go wrong because this is a language that is understood anywhere internationally. And you can perform it without any limitations. Some skills are limited to that in country because of the laws governing certain things around it. And so when you go for IT, as well as I think now we're looking at data science. I think data science is the most happening now. So when you invest in such a skill, I think you will be a value addition on the international platform.
Oh, great. So, I mean, John, Mpeza has told us some of these skills and these opportunity areas. How then do young people position themselves? I mean, you're group head of HR. So how do young people position themselves? Someone has the skills. What next?
Where do I go?
Exactly. What do I do?
All right. So I think the starting point really, to add on to what Mpeza has already said, is, we are advocating that as youths, we can actually work in the international space. So it means we need to have this global view of the world. So you need to shift your mentality from being national and become global. So when you have a global view of the world, it means you then start looking at what is happening in the world. You keep abreast, to what is going on in the world, in the continents around you, and all these other, different places, so that you can position yourself. For example, I think we are in the era of the fourth industrial revolution. So you understand that we had this first industrial revolution, which was in the 1700s, the second industrial revolution in the 1800s, the fourth industrial revolution in the 2000s, and now the third rather in the 2000s. Now we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which is the era of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. We are talking of issues of robotics, cyber, physical systems, and all those issues which Mpeza talked about. All right, so for me to be able to contribute to that point, really, I think I'll look at, even for the sake of the listeners, there is a report that was done by the World Economic Forum report, which was in 2020, and they looked at some of the critical skills that would be relevant for the future. And so for you to position yourself, it means you need to acquire some of these skills. I'll quickly run through them, I think by order of priority. So we've got complex problem solving, we've got critical thinking. It means that you need to be a critical...
John, could you take it a bit, slowly, because of our viewers? I'm sure some of them will want to scribble down some of these things.
Definitely.
So you can go again.
So this report is by the World Economic Forum, and it was done in 2020. It talks about the future of jobs. So they highlight the 10 most important critical skills that are going to be very important and relevant for our future.
Okay.
They are listed according to the order of priority.
Okay.
So the first one is complex problem solving. So the world has a lot of complex problems. And as youths, we need to position ourselves in such a way that we become problem solvers. The second one is critical thinking. The world will be looking for people that are critical thinkers. The third one is creativity, which I think ties in with issues of innovation. The fourth one is people management. How do you manage people? The third is coordinating with people. The next one is emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is about being self-aware. Do you know your purpose? Do you know your destiny? Do you know where you are going? Do you have a vision? Then you need to be aware of your environment. So what opportunities are in your environment? Be aware of the people that are around you as well. Then the next is judgment and decision making. Then we've got service orientation. And lastly, but not the least, is the issue of negotiation, which becomes very important and critical for us to be able to look at those issues. Okay. So as a youth, understand those critical skills that are raised there. Then the next thing that you need to do is understand the problems that your country is facing. I think that is the next thing that you need to look at. What problems are you facing? Is it issues of unemployment? Is it issues maybe of cybersecurity, terrorism, and all these other issues? How do you position yourself using the skills that we've talked about for you to be able to, leverage and make impact in your communities using the skills that are listed there?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. He's raised very interesting points, and it makes me think of some of the debates that I've heard people engage in, where it's like some of the things that he said, stuff like critical thinking, emotional intelligence, for instance. Some people don't feel like you can learn that in school.
Of course.
So let's address that. Some people have the opinion that some of these things are sort of natural for some. Some say, creativity is innate. You don't go to school to learn how to be creative, for instance. So I think, Nisa, speak to that. The school of thought that says some of these skills are innate and cannot be learned from school. Is that true? Or what do you think about that?
Well, for me, as I was going through the secondary school phase, even doing my A-levels at universities, I've always taken the opportunity to acquire new skills. Perhaps a word of advice to the youth out there is, if you feel like you're not really good at some particular skills, or maybe you have not really acquired them as of yet, so the best thing to do is to accompany yourself with people that really are experts, or they are really advanced in acquiring these skills. And for me, that really helped me, especially as a lawyer. You need to, when they say at uni that you need to have critical thinking, it might be complex. You might not really get it at first, but once you expose yourself to opportunities, then it will naturally flow, because at the end of the day, you need to put in the work. So always put in the work and be passionate about everything that you do. Associate yourself with the right group of people, then there is nothing impossible without God. You will surely get there.
Awesome.
I like that point.
Mpeza, you want to add a word to that?
Well, I think just in agreement with Lisa, nobody really bonds with these skills that John had earlier alluded to. So it starts from yourself having some sort of desire to want to be a certain type of person. So when you know who you want to be, you then have to, know what comes with what you want to be. Now, in terms of being a critical thinker, like Mr. said, nobody is going to arrive at just being a critical thinker. You find yourself or allow yourself to be in positions that give you the ability to manifest that critical thinking ability within yourself. Because if you don't expose yourself to such kind of situations or environments, you will never know that you have such kind of skill. So young people need to be open, open-minded, invest their time, especially because I know nowadays people are always busy, probably on the phones playing games or just watching TV or arguing on social media. But I think you can invest your time in things that expose you to who you are or who you can be, like give you a feel of who you can be, or expose you to what kind of skills you can nurture within yourself. Yes.
I like that. Expose yourself to things that will help you know who you can be.
Yes.
I like
yes,
it.
Very, very true.
Love it.
And one thing I can pick from the things they have said is all of these things have been said in one form or the other since Monday.
Yes.
In all of the messages, all of the charges, everything has been said. And I just hope that someone watching right now will
taking notes.
Exactly.
Get out of your comfort zone. I think is one thing. To exceed expectation,
yes.
you have to leave your comfort zone. You have to think big and just try to explore.
And as Mpeza said, surround yourself with things that can help you become who you
can be,
who you can be, who you should be. You know.
I like it.
So, Mpeza, you're a HR person. There's a part of packaging. There's a part of selling yourself, presenting yourself to the world. So you've acquired these skills, you have these qualifications. How then do you sell yourself in terms of a resume or a CV or anything?
What will an HR person be looking for?
Okay, so in terms of packaging, I think packaging is very important as well. As you look out to obviously sell your skills or sell yourself internationally, it's very important that you, first of all, invest in your image, because people will approach you, or what's the word? I think they will look at you from the outside before you speak. So they will want to talk to you based on even how you look. I'm sure you agree with me that there are certain people that when you just look at them, you don't want to talk to them there and then. They probably have to speak first for you to say, okay, let me give you a minute or two. But there's some people, just how they've packaged themselves, physically, how they're dressed or how they've built their image, gives you the confidence or the desire to want to talk to them. So as you are aiming to go internationally out there, ensure that you package yourself with build your image first. And then you also, there's an issue of a CV. Before they see you, before they talk to you, there's a CV that they have to look at. So ensure that your information is communicated correctly in that resume, in your CV or anything, because that is the first thing that speaks to the employer before you do. So ensure that the correct information is listed in there and that the information is easily understood. So use the right language to communicate as well. I think that should be helpful.
Okay, so I also want to touch on a debate that happened that sometimes just resurfaces on the Nigerian Twitter sphere, when it was living. And it was with regards to getting a professional CV writer help you write your CV. Some said, okay, there's a gentleman who is a professional CV writer in Nigeria, owns a business from it, and he of course charges people for it. And some said he's exploiting people, that any person who is a proper graduate can write a CV for themselves if they are applying locally or internationally. So I would like to hear your opinions. Is it exploitation to hire a CV writing company, or is it laziness?
Is it laziness?
Laziness to do it yourself when you can't do it yourself.
Or is there nothing wrong with it?
Exactly.
Anybody can jump on the question.
John, I want to hear from John.
Okay, yeah. So look, I think for me it's not exploitation at all, because even the Bible does say a man through desire having separated himself intermeddles with all manner of wisdom and knowledge. So you going an extra mile and seeking a professional person looking at your CV is actually wisdom in itself. Because I'll give you an example of myself. I think I've looked over so many CVs in my professional life. I've lost count, because when I was with the mining sector, I think I would look at maybe close to over 500,000 CVs in a year. And these are CVs that are different in nature. So it would show you that I know a thing or two about CVs, right? Better than a graduate. So if I sat and looked at your CV, it would only take me a minute to punch holes in some of those issues and I'll give you professional advice that would help you land an interview. So I think it's wisdom to look for a professional person.
Somebody say wisdom.
Wisdom is deep. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Okay, all right. Mpeza, you want to touch on that too?
Okay, so in addition to what John has said, it is wise to seek professional advice on, especially on things, on matters that you are not really sure of. But I also encourage people to on their content. Okay, so you go to a professional, they help you, give you an outlook or an outline of how that CV should look professionally. I have sat in many interviews where people have gone to a professional person to help them with their CV, and when they come to present in an interview, they have no idea what exactly is in that.
There.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So in addition to that, once you seek professional input on your CV or on your packaging per se, ensure that you own that information, you know how to deliver that information as well. Because that professional person will not be there when you present yourself. So ensure that you own it and you know what is in that CV yourself.
Okay, all right. I was going to ask a question. We're talking about packaging and branding yourself. Now, social media. Some persons would have, maybe in their personal life, they go for certain kind of events and they post certain kind of pictures on their Instagram, on their Facebook. As HR managers, do those things matter? Or it doesn't matter really?
I think in this day and age, social media is now part of our lives and we can't really run away from it. But we really must be careful how we use it, because to an extent it does matter. There's certain positions or roles that require you to have a certain character. And how do you know your character without seeing your outside world, outside of the work environment? So in some cases, especially for some positions, especially executive roles, senior roles, or even roles, especially now that we're talking about international roles or careers on the international space, because they might want to look how your character is and who you really are, because we want to know who you really are. So we will look at and scrutinize every part of your life, including your social media. So people really must be careful what they post, what they say, because these things come back. Facebook now gives you what you posted 10 years ago, and you'll be amazed. Why did I do that? Yes. And it will come back content, and especially pictures. These things never get deleted off social media. So imagine you have a very senior role, probably at IMF or anywhere else, and one of those silly pictures comes up, from social media, and I just posted this for fun so that my friends can comment or can love my pictures and whatnot. So we really must take note that it's very important that we post, be modest in terms of how we use our social media, especially that can harm our careers adversely. Yes.
Okay, Nisa, do you want to touch on that, from a legal perspective?
Yes, from a legal perspective, it's very important. In fact, I would echo what Mpeza has just contributed. It's very important to maintain your public image. As lawyers, it's even one of our responsibilities or duties to ensure that we maintain and we encourage the public to trust in us. So it's very important to be sure about what you're posting on social media, because you never know what client might be looking at you, you see. And especially if you want to sell yourself internationally, you need to be aware that these organizations, they have high reputation, and part of their public image is who they hire. And if I may use a legal term, they wouldn't want to hire a liability. They would want to hire someone who brings value to their public image. So as Christians, we ought to be wise, and we need to be very careful about what we post on social media.
Brilliant. So still on you, Nisa, we've talked extensively about jobs, getting them, etc. But I'm sure that that there are some people who are watching right now who are looking at this from a slightly different perspective. Maybe I have a business, or I'm a business owner, and I'm looking to appeal to an international audience. As someone who works in the Chamber of Commerce in Seychelles, what would you say is the right way to go about it? In the event that what I have is maybe a business or an idea, how do I position myself such that I will have international clients reach out to me and want to work with me?
Sorry, perhaps if you could clarify, do you mean the person is in Seychelles or international?
International.
And they want to sell themselves in the Seychelles?
For example. Yeah, for example.
Okay, for example.
It could be in Zambia. It could be somewhere.
You know,
okay.
France.
Regardless. Okay, I understand. Thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
I believe the most important thing is to understand your value in everything that you do, especially if you're a businesswoman. You need to make sure, or even a businessman, you need to make sure that you know what is the problem that you need to be the solution to, as in everything else. So you need to make sure that the product you want to sell, for instance, is the one that the market actually wants, so that you're able to sell your products and people can be attracted towards your services or your products. And that is very important in everything that you do. Understand what value you're contributing to the economy, and thereon I think things will flow, because you are the solution to a problem, and